Happy Victory Monday, 49ers fans. This is the Bully Ball Podcast. We're going to talk the 49ers' dominant performance, Jordan Mason, and we got some injury updates from Kyle Shanahan just now regarding Christian McCaffrey and others. Stick around after this. I'm Jason Aponte. That's Steph Sanchez. This is the Bully Ball Podcast on the Gold Standard Podcast Network. And if you woke up this morning and your team has a 0 in the win column, Steph and I cannot relate as fans on this beautiful Tuesday, September 10th. Steph, how are you? How are the vibes? How was the game?
Man, it was great, man. I mean, obviously, week one, the buzz that comes with that, the lack of Jets fans that were there. Dude, I think I saw 5 total. That tells you the confidence they had in their team in this game, right? So we had the utmost confidence in the Niners, though, and they definitely look like themselves. So the vibes are sensational, man. They're definitely great up here.
100%. And if you guys don't follow me on Twitter, I found a video of a Jets space with a Jets fan absolutely crashing out who actually went to the game. Probably won't be able to play it on here because it's a little explicit, but I implore everyone, if you follow me, to go check that out if you want a good laugh. We are so back, making other fan bases completely crash out in week one. The vibes are immaculate. But going into this game, it felt like Christian McCaffrey was going to play. Obviously, we get the news 90 minutes before the game that he is not going to play with a calf Achilles. And Kyle Shanahan just offered an update with local media on a conference call saying if it was a playoff game, Christian McCaffrey would have played. And it is officially now Achilles tendonitis. He also offered updates on Juwan Jennings and Aaron Banks as day-to-day. Aaron Banks left this game and Spencer Burford stepped in. So what are we thinking now for this game? Because it did come out before the game started that Adam Schefter would say he's probably going to miss week 2. 49ers didn't miss a beat without him yesterday. As we know, Jordan Mason went crazy. But what's the level of concern right now with this injury and the way it's being labeled?
Yeah, I think we were already concerned seeing Achilles get added to his injury last week, right? But we were feeling optimistic because he was practicing, and you think like it's regular season, it's week 1, he's not going to actually miss any games. Then you get that notification that he was going to be inactive for this one. Definitely raises your level of concern. I think again, just going back to the Achilles thing, you know how serious that is and how that could become problematic, right? So there's definitely a concern level in that sense for McCaffrey that this could turn into something bigger. At the same time, I'm glad the 49ers took it seriously and were like, hey, we can't risk him long term. So I think they made the right decision, and I think also it speaks to the confidence that they have in Jordan Mason, and rightfully so. I mean, he looked tremendous in this game, but it seems like this might be a week-to-week thing with Christian McCaffrey and just seeing how he feels on game day.
And as long as the running game looks the way that it did, and the offense did, and I would say, because I just ran through the tape, I would say that many points, and there was still more to be had, and the offense isn't exactly lockstep, right? The Brandon Aiyuk play in the end zone, I'm sure we'll discuss that because there were a lot of strong reactions to that, but this offense, it felt like they left some points out there, for all intents and purposes, and it's just week 1. Wait till this team starts to get rolling. And I think that's the part that, although you look up at the scoreboard and you see how many points it is, and everyone was supposed to be worried about the big bad Jets defense, it didn't look like it was a problem. And it didn't look like they were firing on all cylinders, which is pretty much right now another boost of confidence for this team going into the epic revenge game matchup with Sam Darnold next week, the number 1 and number 2 highest graded passers by PFF. Brock Purdy, number 1. Sam Darnold, number 2. Kyle Shanahan somewhere smiling, isn't he?
Jay, for one, I know you hate to see Jake Moody account for 20 points in this game.
Why do I hate to? Why do I?
You must be sick.
Let me tell you something. My GOAT literally lifted me to a Scott Fishbowl victory. 31.6 points, the highest scorer on my team. Never changed Jake Moody, and you're exactly why I drafted you. Exactly. Who's mad?
Yes.
I am in a glorious mood because Jake Moody owns everyone.
He was definitely winning some fantasy matchups. He won one for me as well. But to your point about this team missing pieces, not looking, like they're at full speed on offense, right? But still being able to put up 32 points, still being able to impose their will. I think that tells you like what this team is made of, the depth that they have across the board. I think it makes it even more impressive. I think it makes them even more scary to opposing teams, right? Because you think, oh, thank God, like from another team's standpoint, you think, thank God CMC's not here. We might actually have a chance. And then here comes Jordan Mason. Here comes Dominic Pooney, who looked great in this game. Here comes Trent Williams, not at 100%, and he didn't even allow any pressures. So it's like, man, it's an embarrassment of riches for this team. And yeah, they didn't look like themselves, and yet they still look like themselves, if that made sense.
That does. And again, you get the notification that Christian McCaffrey is not going to play, but I think it says a lot more if the 49ers can't beat the New York Jets without Christian McCaffrey. And you still have Kittle and Debo and Mason and
Yep.
this defense. So for me, this was never a situation of like, well, oh no, this is scary without Christian McCaffrey. It's no, you're still better than the New York Jets, even without Christian McCaffrey. And I don't think that really should have. If the concern comes in anywhere, it's just, is this injury going to linger? I didn't feel like it had any impact on this game. And obviously, this is where we should start. Is Jordan Mason. Hello. He's been waiting years for this moment. And he finally gets it. And the most rushing attempts under Kyle Shanahan during his time with the 49ers. Isn't that a shocking stat?
Yeah, I was super surprised to see that actually 28 carries for Mason. That's the most. For a guy who loves to run the ball as much as Kyle does, that was a big surprise. But I think it just showed the trust that they had in Jordan Mason, and also like the game script seemed to go favorably to run the ball in this one. And when you're averaging 5.3 yards per carry, I mean, why not? Why not run it, right? So he looked great. And what I noticed hearing everyone talk about Jordan Mason after the game, all the players that were asked about him, you can tell like they all kind of said the same thing, like, hey, like we knew he could do this. So I think a lot of 49er fans felt the same way as well. And you said it, like he's kind of just been waiting for this opportunity for some time now. So he got it, and he definitely didn't disappoint. To me, he looks like a guy who deserves more touches even when Christian McCaffrey is healthy. So
Mhm.
that's huge for this team because you have Elijah Mitchell, who this team does love, but he's out this season. But Jordan Mason definitely showing he could handle it.
And you look at the Shanahan lineage, right? Mike finds Terrell Davis, turns him into a Hall of Famer. Mike finds Olandis Gary and Mike Anderson and all these guys like to be able to run the football. And then you have Kyle with, Matt Breida and all these guys that they're able to keep finding, man. I think it's just a testament to the scheme, understanding and evaluating talent. And yeah, if you didn't know who Jordan Mason was and you just found out about him last night, and I'm not speaking to 49ers fans, you're welcome, and welcome to the national stage. So again, it's not really going to alleviate the criticism of, well, anyone could run in Shanahan's offense, or I could run. It's not going to do that. But I think again, it's a testament to how special the scheme is, how great this offensive line was blocking. And I think that's the next place that we should go as well too, because you did mention Trent Williams didn't allow a pressure, and that was the first time that he's done that since what was the stat? It was like 2017 or something like that, where he didn't allow one pressure in the game, and the guy hasn't even been at camp. I mean, talk about special, right?
Yeah, like he had to leave for an IV at one point, and I know a lot of us were a little nervous that he might
Mhm.
have suffered an injury, but no, he's just a little tired, man. But that I don't blame him for. And yeah, I was surprised to see that he didn't allow any pressures, just because I did expect him to be a little rusty. I mean, we knew this was going to be a tough matchup for him in any case, but man, dude looked all right. He looked like his belly was hanging out a little bit more than the usual, but you know what? As long as he keeps not allowing any pressures, I think we're okay with how he looks.
Yeah, and that stat is courtesy of Next Gen Stats, by the way, too. Rob, if you can find it, put it up on the thing because I just want to read it verbatim because it felt like a stat that isn't real, and I just want to make sure that we can confirm when was the last time that something like this happened. So, and when you look across the offensive line, Aaron Banks leaves this game. Spencer Burford steps right in, and Jordan Elliott of NBC spoke to Spencer Burford after the game and asked him about his comfortability playing on the left side. And he goes, "Yeah, it's like I never left." Remember, Burford played left tackle the entire time during college, so him sliding in and being good depth for Aaron Banks, it doesn't sound like it's something too serious. But yeah, it's and here it is. 49ers left tackle Trent Williams did not allow a single pressure tonight against the Jets on 33 pass blocking snaps. It was Williams' first game without allowing a pressure since week 3, 2022. Oh, that's not that long ago. But still, I mean, I guess considering coming off of the time with actual training camp being missed and everything, it's like he never really missed a beat. But back to Burford, he slid in, and I think they did a great job. What was funny to me leading up into this game were the Jets fans who, were a little bit pushing their chest out a little bit, in some of my live streams and other places and saying, "Yeah, well, we got Javon Kinlaw," and I was just like, "Wait a minute, what? Are you trying to like tell me that like now I need to be nervous about like this? Like even in the first, I think it's like the first play of the game, Colton McKivitz drags him across 2 gaps, and Colton McKivitz had his ups and downs. It's just like, you're excited about that. We know all about that. Like, he's not a bad player, but not going to move the needle to the fact that I'm like, oh, man, it just got Javon Kinlaw. Come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, he had a couple nice plays, but I wasn't expecting him to have some kind of revenge game on the Niners. And I was pretty pleased to see how Purdy did against him,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And he even had a couple snaps against Quinnen Williams as well, and looked pretty good in those too. So yeah, I think my confidence in the offensive line grew after last night. I think seeing what Burford was able to do on the left side, definitely encouraging. And again, like it just speaks to the fact that this team could lose guys, and you have other guys that step in and they're not missing a beat. I mean, I think that's a crazy part of it all. So, yeah, the offensive line looks pretty good in week 1. Sorry for everything I said leading up to this season, because so far they're proving me wrong.
Yeah, and the tweet that's up on the screen for the audio listeners, 49ers offensive line posted a sparkling 96.1 pass block win rate on Monday
Ooh,
night, third best in the NFL in week 1. Trent Williams, Aaron Banks, Spencer Burford, perfect 100% marks. Dominic Puni, 95.7. Jake Brendel, 95.8. Colton McKivitz at 91.7. And obviously, if the New York Jets had Hassan Reddick, things would have gotten a lot harder. But that's still a ferocious defensive line with Quinnen Williams and other
yeah.
guys in the way that they're able to generate pressure. Jermaine Johnson is somebody who was highly regarded. I didn't really hear his name called at all in this game. So again, very good start. Again, Puni now solidifies right guard. And we don't, well, it's week 1. We might as well overreact. I mean, the 49ers are about to go 21-0, whatever it is, just to go straight to the Super Bowl anyway. But it seems like right guard is now solidified and upgraded. I think solidify will be one thing, but the upgrade now is it can change things because we keep talking about can't run the football to the right side. It's
Hmm.
tougher and tougher to do that. It's a complete upgrade now at this point. And another tweet from Nick Wagner. Rookie guard Dominic Puni had the highest run block win rate at 82.1%. In real time, seemed like a strong debut from Puni, who has looked like he belongs from the moment he has arrived in the Bay. My goodness, man.
What
It's
a
just,
gem.
yeah, and the concern that we had because he was a brick wall in Kansas, it's not a concern, but I guess something that we thought he might have to improve in is run blocking, and here we are. Here we are. And again, the Jets were at the bottom of the league in run defense. I think we knew that going into this game, which is why partially I wasn't so worried about what are you going to do with the Jets secondary. By the way, Sauce Gardner left this game for a few times on and off the field, and he wasn't out there. So why play into a team's strength when your strength is against their weakness? And that's what made me feel good about this game moving forward. But again, kudos to the offensive line. This is probably one of the few times this year that we're going to be able to say, hey, no notes. No notes with the offensive line, because there's going to be other games against better defensive lines that we're going to see more struggles. But no notes today from us.
Hopefully it isn't just a few times that we get to say
Yeah.
that, right? And hopefully
No.
this is something that we see all season. And yeah, I think the offensive line, even across the board, yes, improved. Dominic Puni definitely bolster some things on the right side. And like you said, they could finally run some plays to the right side. Are you going to feel confident in that? And Puni after the game spoke about how much he loved running the football. So in his first game, having that and looking good, doing it as well in the run blocking is huge for this team. So yeah, really excited for him. I understand why the 49ers were kind of hesitant to like crown him early. Like if you hear Chris Forster's or Shanahan's pressers, like you can kind of just gradually see how in each one their confidence in him is growing, and they're like, man, we don't have anything bad to say about him. Um, but first, it started off kind of like we don't want to, I guess, crown him right away. But now it's like he's that guy. Like he looks like that guy already. And week one in this tough matchup, I think we can definitely say that. So yeah, hopefully, uh, healthiness is a thing that's I guess been a concern with the offensive line so far in camp and even in this week one with Banks going out. So hopefully these guys could stay healthy because with the group they have now, I feel really confident about it.
And what's hilarious is the 49ers put up 30 plus points. There's still a world where they can get Christian McCaffrey back and Brandon Aiyuk can be just a
I'm
little bit better.
saying,
Yeah. So,
phew,
I mean, I'm not too worried about the offense,
crazy.
but we've talked about Jordan Mason. We talked about the offensive line. It's time to talk about Brock Purdy. And this is one of the games that I had been talking to you about all offseason in terms of improvement.
Yeah.
Statistically, it's not eye popping, but the little stuff. You see it, the little stuff, the understanding where to go with the football, delivering it on time, and to some degree managing the game in a way where you're never putting the ball in harm's way. Now, there's going to be discussions about what is considered a turnover worthy play. That's how you know we're all the way back. PFF had him down for 0, had him down for 1 big time throw. So 19 of 29, 231 yards and 1 rush for 11 yards. That doesn't knock your socks off statistically, but
Hmm.
I did find a nice little nugget on Next Gen Stats in terms of what kind of is going into what happened yesterday, because we all know the Jets have a great secondary. Brandon Aiyuk isn't exactly up to speed right now. Let's just say that. But according to Next Gen Stats, Brock Purdy finished 4th in aggressive throw percentage with 24.1%. Now, an aggressive throw are throws into tight coverage where the defender is within 1 yard or less at time of completion or incompletion. Now, to give context, the Jets secondary is very good. Deebo Samuel at times was having a tough time finding himself open. Even Brandon Aiyuk found himself, again, that the first incompletion to him wasn't a drop. That was a great play by Sauce Gardner. But I wanted to really highlight what this means. Only 4 people had been over 24%. So Anthony Richardson was 26.3% aggressive throws, but he was minus 4.3 completion percentage above expectation. Minus, right? CJ Stroud, 25%, 12.6 completion percentage above expectation. That's really good. Dak Prescott, 25% aggressive rate, minus 3.2% completion percentage above expected. And Brock Purdy, number 4, 24.1 with 1.9 completion percentage above expectation. That kind of just highlights, that stat highlights tough throw, tough window, still completing passes above the expectation. Those are the incremental steps that we're talking about seeing from Brock Purdy that aren't going to show up statistically in total yards and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. This is what we've been talking about all off season, and yeah, I think just in this first game, we see the growth, we see the maturity, his command of this offense, and just his familiarity with the offense, where guys are going to be, the timing of everything, and all that. So yeah, it wasn't a crazy stat line or anything, but I think he had the type of performance that does give you confidence in what he's going to be able to do this season. Yeah, he's aggressive when he needs to be, and like Kyle Shanahan said, like he's not putting the ball in harm's way. So that's great as well, especially against this Jets defense. I think he had a great game. And can we talk about that throw to Aiyuk though in the end zone, because that was
I
a
mean, you
dime,
can you can kick it off. You can kick it off. It
dime.
was absolute. It was an absolute
It was
dime. Like
perfect.
that.
It was
That's
perfect.
a perfect. All right. So I guess the discussion starts with this. Brandon Aiyuk your offseason was tumultuous. Let's just say that, right? It was
Yeah.
a little up and down. Then there's a play like that after the contract. And I don't necessarily hold this opinion, but you have to imagine that everybody's going to start saying, well, you just got paid. We
Peyton Manning,
expect. Yeah,
like
we
Peyton Manning.
expect. Yeah, Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning yesterday. And I didn't watch the Manning cast, but the clips have been floating around and I've seen
Yeah.
so many. Peyton Manning was literally flummoxed by Kyle Shanahan's motion because they're adding the new little wrinkles. What I noticed was it was a play in which I believe they ran Kyle Juszczyk across the formation, and then Jordan Mason kind of moves over. And I don't know if you guys noticed this wrinkle with the running game in which Debo's kind of lining up a little bit further away, like not directly behind Brock, and they're using that to show something and then use it to against you, right? Like these are the little wrinkles that they're adding. But Mason definitely moved early, and Peyton Manning's like, how is that not a false start? That's a CFL motion or something like that, and it's just all these new creative ways that they're finding ways. But yeah, back to the Brandon Aiyuk thing. I don't hold this opinion. I would have loved to see him come down with that. It was an absolute dime, but there are definitely people that were going to be upset because he didn't bring that one in, especially with the contract and how everything went, right?
Yeah, like you have to expect that. Like if with the off season that you had,
Mhm.
with you even admitting like you made things more difficult than they needed to be, you show up the week before week one. That's when you start practicing with the team. There's concerns about you being rusty, and it played out like that, right? It played out like him being rusty, and yeah, like that was a perfect throw. He even said it after the game. Yeah, like that was a dime. He said next time he'll catch it. Hope so, because like I think that's what you're getting paid for. So yeah, I get it, man. I think that's exactly the fan reaction I was expecting if he did have the kind of day he did. And so yeah, I mean it's a learning experience, right? So I think he will improve, of course, and he'll get back to it. But that was a perfect ball from Brock Purdy. I just love to see that from Brock. Like
Mhm.
I love to see that. And that's why I'm saying like I'm not worried about Brock because yeah, he didn't have a touchdown in this game. That would have been a touchdown. He
Mhm.
threw a touchdown pass.
Mhm.
Just wasn't caught.
And again, PFF credits him with a big time throw and 0 turnover worthy plays and a drop. And there's your drop right there on that one.
Hmm.
Again, tough play, but if Aiyuk is the receiver we believe him to be, and I think he is, again, this is just week one. If you're going to do it,
Yeah.
get it out of the way right now. Then he's got to come down with that. But I wasn't, I just knew when it happened. I was just like,
Yeah,
oh,
exactly.
baby. I
Yep,
was like,
you know.
the interwebs are about to have a field day with this one, especially the people who were frustrated the entire offseason. But again, Brock puts it in a place where only he can get it out. Like just beautiful throw. BA's just got to come down with that. And I believe someone else was like, that's twice that he's done that to Brock Purdy in the back of the end zone, because you remember the runaround play against Seattle as well, too. But I'll tell you this, on a Victory Tuesday in which the vibes are immaculate, I'm not too worried about it. Everything's going to be fine. I am not too worried about it. So, yeah, I thought that was going to be interesting, though. I knew for a fact that people were going to run to the internet and yell.
49ers still put up 32 points. So it's okay. I'm not, like you said, I'm not too worried about it. It's week one.
Yeah.
There were a lot of teams that kind of look like the Niners in the sense that not everyone really had their footing in week one, right? And the 49ers look like a team that were kind of just getting their footing in this game. But they'll get it back. Like I said, they look like themselves. So that's all you needed to see in this one. There's no Super Bowl hangover as far as I'm concerned.
Sure didn't look like that. I mean, the Jets did go up in this game, but it really just like got away from them. And I think, again,
Yeah.
that's what makes the 49ers so good, is they don't need to play their best game to beat you. And they can beat you however you want to get beat. And it looked like, again, that aspect of physicality was still there. The Jets were just like, all right, no mas. After a while, like they just got like pushed around and beaten into oblivion. Think about you're the New York Jets. You feel that last season you went 7-10, and that's with Aaron Rodgers going down in the first game, and we've added this, and we have this guy, and we have this guy, and then you go out there with all this anticipation and really being revved up for a Monday Night Football game and get bullied again on TV. And this is what the 49ers have done it to better teams, but they generally do it to teams that are not in their league in the same way that the Jets were. This is what I had a problem with all leading into this game. I had such a tough time being worried about the New York Jets, and the 49ers still don't have to play their best game of football to beat you and make it look as easy as it was on Monday night.
Yeah, and as Rob put in our little private chat here, he said they pulled Rodgers with 4 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. I
No
was a little
mas.
surprised. I was surprised by that too, because I'm just like, wait, really? Already? And this game did end pretty early. It just seemed like the Jets were trying to go home after a certain point, and I don't blame them. Now, like, can we talk about the defense? Because I thought the
Yes.
defense played tremendously in this game. Look, you have Aaron Rodgers, who always loves to pepper targets to his wide receiver one. Obviously, that's Garrett Wilson. And you did see on their one scoring drive that, well, I guess they had a couple of scoring drives, but on the first one, you know, Garrett Wilson had 3 third down conversions in this game. He was looking for him after every drop back. And it's like, ooh, okay, need to make an adjustment. Nick Sorensen did not hesitate. The following drive, like you see that they're really keen in on Garrett Wilson defensively, and I mean that's kind of where things started to fall apart. I think for the Jets offensively, and obviously this team knows Aaron Rodgers' tendencies. They've played against him a number of times. They've done successfully against him a number of times now, and so they definitely executed that. And I thought for his first game, Nick Sorensen did a pretty good job, I'd say.
Yeah, and that's the interesting part. And we talked about what's the secondary going to look like. And then it gets announced that Isaac Yadam's going to be the guy outside. And I thought one of the coolest things was when the Jets put 3 receivers to the left and Garrett Wilson went in the slot, Lenore went in there, and Mooney was even closer, right, in the slot, right? Like, and then you had Yadam outside. And on that play, in which it ended in a completion for Wilson, you couldn't have asked anything more from Diamador Lenore, who was in perfect spot, played the eyes, tried to rip through once the hands went up, and Garrett Wilson just made a better play. But the secondary, right? There, I know you guys have seen it. That what is it called? It's that diagram that's out there.
Yeah, I'm
Mooney
telling Rob to
Ward
put it up.
Mooney Ward took away the entire side of the field, and they did not throw the football anywhere near him. And that's Aaron Rodgers. That's
Yo,
Aaron Rodgers.
this chart is crazy. That's
Yes.
crazy. That's
And
crazy.
for reference, Mooney Ward lined up 50 times on the left side of it, I think of his 56 snaps. And
Yep.
don't even try it. Now, is this a combination of the fact that, yeah, I know that Alan Lazard or whoever was the other wide receiver is not going to beat Mooney, but not testing him at all is just like, man, Mooney's playing himself into a bigger bag because of what he's already done last season. But that chart is jarring to me to be able to see that right side for the Jets was basically inoperable. And I think we've seen that with other shutdown corners. Now it's the 49ers that have something like that. And just again, I know it's week 1. I know we don't want to get too ramped up, but my God, like, look at that. Like, and that's something that I think we can look forward to week after week because of how good Mooney is.
Yeah, and it's not just Mooney, right? Like obviously this chart does tell a story that Aaron Rodgers was not even looking in his direction. But we know what Lenore is made of too, and we know how good Lenore is. And that's just gonna feed Lenore more opportunities to make plays as well. And I think quarterbacks are gonna find out pretty soon, like he deserves to be respected too. And you need to watch out throwing the ball towards his direction because he did have that batted pass went up in the air. That's how the 49ers got that interception. So you're going to see plays like that, I think, all season where, okay, if you're going to ignore this guy, okay, the other guy can make some plays too. So that's the threat that this defense has on the back end. And that's what we've been saying like all offseason, that we really expect the secondary to be one of the best in the league. And especially if Ward is putting up a chart like that where quarterbacks aren't even targeting him, I mean, that's crazy. And look, kudos to Rodgers for getting the ball out quickly. He was getting the ball out like I think 2.33 seconds. And I think you watch this game, sometimes you're like, "Oh, they're not getting any pressure. 49ers aren't." Well, if the quarterback's getting the ball out that quickly, it's difficult, right?
Mhm.
I saw Nick Bosa win plenty of snaps in this game. He had that one spin move. He was in the backfield like so fast, and Rodgers just got it out before that. But I thought the defensive line even looked improved in this game, and Nick Bosa said it before Week 1 that he thought this defensive line was improved. I was pleased by the run defense as well. That was a big question mark for a lot of us, right? Going into Week 1, Brees Hall, and Brees Hall is one of the best running backs in the league. He's going
I'd
to
say the
get some
second best.
run.
I'd say the
Yes.
second best.
Yeah, I think so. And he's going to get some run. He's going to have success. But I think overall, I was very pleased with the defensive line performance, especially interior runs. Like that shit was getting shut down.
Mhm.
So I was really pleased to see that from the defensive line, and looking forward to what they're going to be doing this season.
Right, and just a little bit more on Charvarius Ward. 2 catches on 5 targets for 14 yards, 47.9 passer rating allowed with a PBU. Don't throw the ball at him. And yeah, the defensive line is interesting. Nick Bosa, hello. Leonard Floyd, again, hello.
Yes,
That's good.
Zach.
Malik Collins was one of the more underrated aspects of this game because there was so much. And then, when you have a game where Fred Warner is just dominating and he punched that ball out, like it was beautiful, right? Like, and I don't know if you guys watch Good Morning Football, but Peanut Tillman is a part of their group, and they're like, man, Peanut, often imitated. I don't know, like he probably just did it better than you do, So it was pretty cool to see that. But the super chat says, it was a good win, but we need to be able to put games away. 6 field goals is a bit concerning. We have leads in NFC Championship games and Super Bowls and lost. Not too worried about it. I think when you score 30, 36 points, and we could all say that the offense didn't look good, and they'll definitely get it rolling. I'm not really too worried about it. And for reference, the San Francisco 49ers, after I believe their first 2 drives, scored on their last 8 drives.
Yep, 8
When you're
consecutive
right, so when
scoring
you're
drive.
scoring at that clip, no one's gonna beat you. It's just not gonna, and it's just fine. Like I'm okay with that. But Nick Bosa did have a bunch of pressures and sacks. What a picture! I mean, a bunch of pressures, no sacks. Leonard Floyd actually really looked good. I even saw Jordan Elliott on one play, kind of blow a play up as well too. So I think we all kind of suspected that the 49ers defensive line was going to be a bit of a work in progress with depth and who's going to contribute, but it can only get better from here. And I think again, we're talking about the 49ers adding things on offense. The 49ers can get back Drake Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga as well too. Like again, all of these things, this is right now, this is how many reinforcements, right? And we have this early part of the schedule, which is kind of soft. I think, again, the Minnesota game, obviously the 49ers haven't won in Minnesota in a long time. But if you're looking at these first 4 or 5 games, and I know the New England Patriots beat the Cincinnati Bengals, but I don't think we need to consider them world beaters at all anymore. I think that's more about the Bengals than it says about the Pats. But this team is nowhere near hitting its stride, and they'll have reinforcements coming back. I just don't know why you can't like just look at this game and say, man, if that's just the tip of the iceberg and they haven't really figured it out, what's really about to happen with this team? And I think there's so many things to point to.
Yeah, it really is. And like I said, that's a scary thing about this team, that they could put up 32 points, even not at full squad, missing so many key pieces. And Kyle Shanahan did say Talanoa Hufanga does have a chance to play this week or on Sunday against the Vikings. We'll see if that holds true. But in any case, the Vikings are going to prepare like he is. I know that's Kyle Shanahan's intention, so that's a good thing for them. I thought George Odom did okay
He was fine.
in
You
that
didn't
game.
hear his
Yeah,
name called, so he did fine.
yeah, he was okay. So, but obviously getting Hufanga back will be a boost for this team as well, and definitely looking forward to that because, man, to see this defense get stronger, and they already looked pretty good. I think that's just gonna be blouses for the rest of the league, man.
You know what I found interesting, Steph? The
What's that?
kickoff returns. Because
Mm,
Isaac Guerrero was healthy, and he actually was on the field for a few snaps as well, too.
yeah, yeah.
But it wasn't Isaac Guerrero back there. It was Deebo Samuel and Kyle Juszczyk. Was that a bit of a shock for you?
Not Not really. I mean, I think they're gonna try out a number of different guys. And by the way, like I think Brad got a video clip. It looked like at one point Juice and Debo were playing rock paper scissors
Rock, paper, scissors.
to
Mm-hmm.
find out who was gonna catch the punt. And so I think there's a number of guys who could do it, right? I think obviously they like Debo, and what he could do. That's a threat, right? He's a threat, so I'm not mad at that. Garendo, obviously a threat as well with his speed, but you got to remember also he was coming off a groin injury this week, so or the week prior. So I think maybe just trying to ease him in and not trying to do too much. Man, I gotta stop what I'm saying here because we got
Whoa,
a
yeah,
huge,
yeah.
huge
We got to
super
stop the
chat.
show and just address this
Yeah,
one,
like
man. Yeah, just
yo,
put it up on the screen, Rob. Chris with the generous
wow,
donation. Thank you so much. Always miss these
thank
live
you.
shows because of work, but just wanted to throw y'all some love and say my biggest takeaway I'm excited about is how much they ran behind Puni and how good he looked. Maybe the line isn't so bad after all, except Colton, he sucks. Man, I first of all, that is extremely generous, and thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
the large donation. But I think we talked about this earlier. It's just solidifying and upgrading are two different things, right? Like right tackle, I mean, right guard was solidified by John Feliciano. It is now being upgraded with Puni. And that's the difference between the two. And if you just see at least a little bit of an increase in play, there is a world where Puni's improvement and his sight, like when he sees the stunts coming and he gets away and he's always looking for work, right? That can help Colton McKivitz improve as well too, being able to communicate. So
Absolutely.
there is a cascading effect of Puni, be with the guy left to him and the guy right to him, because he's very smart, understands what defenses are trying to do, always looks to block. This is something that possibly a right guard improvement can improve center and right tackle somehow. And I think the first test was against this Jets defensive line that has, a very solid group, and I think they passed with flying colors.
Yeah, I've said it before too that I think there's Pooney can help Colton McKivitz, and I think he already has, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think so. Yes, obviously Colton McKivitz is the weak link, as someone else mentioned in the chat here. I think that's pretty obvious, but like as a whole, I think this offensive line was able to improve just with the addition of Dominic Pooney. So really looking forward to that. And let's remember, it's week one too. So there's a world in which they can continue to improve as the season goes on as a unit. So that's definitely exciting about this
Wait,
team.
wait, what? You think that this team has a chance to get better? Or players have a chance to improve? What sort of big brain thinking is this, Steph? I mean, my goodness. I mean, where do you come up with this stuff? But Chris, thank you so much for the donation.
Thank
And
you
yeah, we're
guys.
excited about the offensive line too, man. It really is upgraded, and it's gonna be fun to not only have to run the football to the left side, you can go to the right now at this point. Dazzle with another donation. Thank you again. But there's also a flow on effect that if we had a better right tackle, Kittle wouldn't need to be used as a sixth lineman. I think that's just the way the 49ers want to run the football regardless, by having him and Salbert on the field at the same time. It's adding two extra, like that's why you saw Charlie Warner on the field so much. So it has less to do with the fact that, oh, we need to cover up Colton McKivitz, just trying to gain box advantages and trying to be able to create new lanes. There's no reason to not have a guy help when you're so committed to running the football like the 49ers are, especially in week one.
I also want to add something here. I think Kittle, like people assume that he's blocking on every snap. I mean, doesn't he usually run routes on like 80% or
Mm-hmm.
more of
Mm-hmm.
plays? So yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of an overblown narrative. But how about Eric Sauber? Eric Sauber
Mm-hmm.
looked pretty good blocking in this game,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think he's a strong TE2 that's going to be able to alleviate that role for Kittle even more, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think obviously they have a lot of confidence in him. He had plenty of snaps, and they had a lot of two tight end sets out there. So I think yeah, that's a huge thing for this team too, to be able to run the ball. Like they got a lot of improvements again with Pooney, with Sauber. I mean, and we saw it right away in week one.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I think we kind of get enamored with the idea of Kyle running 2 tight ends to throw the football to, but they don't want to. They want both of those guys on the field to help block. And it's to one, have the threat of George Kittle on the field, just in case, because you can't just key in and think that he's going to block every time. But it's nice to get that numbers advantage with people that can finish the blocks on top of having your linemen. So I think that's really always going to be a part of the Shanahan thing that he's had here. Charlie Warner did play a lot. Chris, with another donation, thank you again, buddy. Yeah, Trent even said they were trying exotic stunts on him, and he held up well against all that and said he couldn't wait to watch the tape. Exciting. Again, it can only go up from here. And that was a very solid test for the 49ers. I think especially as a rookie, Purdy gets off to a good start. You start to see, obviously it would have been worse with Hassan Reddick there. We talk about that. He's still a very good football player. But right now, it can only go up from here with the offensive line. And I think that's something that everybody is concerned with. And I think when you were listening to everybody talk today, whether it's Good Morning Football, Get Up, whatever, they would say that probably the 49ers' weakest link is the offensive line. But if the 49ers' offensive line improves even a little, considering what we've seen last season with how efficient they were on offense, even with that offensive line, this can really turn into something that doesn't need to be a massive change. You don't need to have all pros, but just a little improvement will really push this team into a spot where it's like, how do you stop them, really?
Yeah, I know. And that's we keep saying it. I feel like a broken record at this point, that's a scary thing about this team. That, yeah, like the offensive line being their weak link, they're still a pretty good offensive line. Like we were just talking about, the Patriots coming up in a couple weeks, right? Their offensive line is atrocious. That's part
Mm-hmm.
of the reason why they're not putting Drake May out there. It's that bad,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you got other offenses in the league, other teams whose offensive line situation is way worse than the 49ers. And the 49ers have all these pieces. They have Kyle Shanahan, who's able to scheme, perfect plays, even with, the offensive line maybe being a weak link on that offense. We only say that because the rest of the offense is like, we say it all the time, the Avengers, right? So, yeah, I mean, if this offensive line could be just decent, like, I mean, what can't they do?
I think the theme of this week, too, in week one is quarterback play wasn't exactly sparkling, but there was a lot of bad offensive line play. I mean, think back to the Thursday night
Yeah.
football game with the Baltimore Ravens. Roger Rosengarten gets out there for his first snap, and he takes over at right tackle, and Chris Jones whips the shit out of him. And that offensive line looked terrible with the Ravens, right? So everyone looks at the 49ers and you say, well, I want to improve the line. Yes, everyone would love to, have great players at every single position, but a lot of teams are struggling. I mean, for instance, look at the New York Jets. The New York Jets offensive line last season was subpar. You bring in Tyron Smith, you bring in Morgan Moses. That's certainly an improvement, but they were getting their ass beat again, right? So we look around the league and we look around at teams that are going to be in the playoff picture one way or another, and they have offensive line problems. I mean, look, even Kingsley Suyamata. I don't know what Chris Collinsworth was watching on Sunday night, because he's like, what amazing reps. I'm like, dude, I was like, he's getting his ass beat here. Like the Chiefs and the Ravens drafted two right tackles, right? And lo and behold, they're rookies and they're going to have, it's going to take them time to get there. So I understand the sentiment, but nothing is a certainty. Just drafting a right tackle and simply starting him doesn't mean that he's going to be an improvement. Doesn't mean that he's going to be a lock for a starter. And if you look at the Ravens and the Chiefs who have just done that, they've seen two of their guys have struggles, and the 49ers were in range to take both of them. Just it's going to take time. And I think, again, as long as Kyle Shanahan's the play caller, as long as he's the guy who understands what he can and can't do, and now you're adding the fact that you can run the football with Purdy to the right side now, I think there's going to be ways to beat all that, especially when this offense finally gets up to speed and Christian McCaffrey comes back.
Yeah, exactly. This team is going to continue to be dangerous. They have a couple of winnable games here in this first stretch, so I have a lot of confidence. I know this game against the Vikings. We talk about it being a short week. They got to travel. They haven't won in Minnesota in quite some time. Sam Darnold revenge game on deck, but I'm just kidding. But he did look good in week one. But let's just remind everyone they were playing the Giants. Like, come on. There's going to be people in your fantasy league that are going to be trying to pick up Sam Darnold. You let them. You you let them
What are you talking
because
about? I put him on our trading block in our dynasty league. Like who doesn't want to come get Sam Darnold right now? All I want is 3 firsts and a player.
yeah, you have that John Lynch price tag on him.
Yeah. I mean, we don't let good football players walk away for nothing. Okay? We just don't give them away, all right? Yeah. All right. I guess we've broken this game down. Is there anything else that a sweeping takeaway, anything else that you wanted to talk about? It was nice to see Robert Saleh, but also Robert Saleh, when you're on the other side, it's like, yeah, man, I don't care. You definitely need to leave with this loss.
Yeah, no. Rooting for Salah after week 1. All right, he definitely has some things to figure out, but he's
Mhm.
got nice pieces,
Yeah.
like so they just need to put it all together. So
Mhm.
hopefully Robert Salah can do that.
Yeah.
We still love you, buddy, but yeah, no. I just wanted to say this. I thought the 49ers did a tremendous job yesterday honoring Frank Gore, who
That's
got
amazing.
added to the 49ers Hall of Fame.
Was Frank Gore playing?
Um, Man, you would have thought he could have suited up, man. He could have
You know
suited
what
up.
real quick before you get into
He's a
that. I
dog, Jay. He's a dog.
the commentate I believe it was Troy Aikman, or it looks like Marshawn Lynch with that number 20. I'm just like, oh Jesus, that is like the most like low hanging fruit comparison, man. A guy wearing 24 with
Like,
dreads who's
no
wearing a
way.
football. He's more. I'm just like, dude, come on, get a new stick. But I'm sorry, get
Yeah,
ahead, stuff.
yeah. We were using that in like his rookie season, man.
Right, right.
Get a new comment
Get a
in
new
there,
stick,
but
man.
but no, I just wanted to say that I think the 49ers did a great job with that, and then also bringing Sergeant Joel Harrell to the
That was
game
really
as
cool.
well. That was a really awesome moment. Obviously, Ricky Pearsall's birthday. Um,
That's
it was
awesome
a
too.
really cool moment, really
Yeah.
emotional to see in person. So yeah, I thought the 49ers slammed it out of the ballpark with both of those.
Yeah, just an unfortunate situation with Ricky Pearsall, and we're just glad that he's doing well. But it does seem that this moment has kind of galvanized the 49ers a little bit, because people were worried about things that are football, right? And they were worried about things like, hangover and can we do it again? And then something like that happens, and it probably put things into perspective for everybody that, there's bigger things in football. And we're still a family, and we're still gonna like it can be a galvanizing moment. I would never want something like this to happen, but it seems like the team has rallied around it, especially after you hear Trent say, after that, I really wanted to get myself back as well too. So yeah, I mean, and it still looks like Ricky's just wants to get out there and play. Like he's just like, I'm ready to go. Like him
So
telling Kyle,
bad, yeah.
I'll be ready for Monday. It's just like, man, that is crazy. Another super chat from Chris. If Darnold beats us, I'm pretty sure Stats is going to drive over a bridge somewhere. Stats get rid of that jersey before the game. Bad juju. Rob, Rob is number one, goated pole position in railing on Sam Darnold. Incredible, man. All right, so real quick story before and this is perfect because then we could pivot this to like a little bit of a quick Minnesota Vikings preview. So I watched football with people on Sunday because I didn't have to work. And it's a beautiful thing that doesn't necessarily happen all the time. And obviously, being here, that was the game that was on TV. And I said, sometimes the gods smile on you and they give you great quarterback play and things to watch. And sometimes you have to watch Daniel Jones against Sam Darnold. And that's what I had to watch. But Sam Darnold started that game 12 for 12. And he threw an interception. Sam's going to do that. By the way, if you're a betting man or woman, I'm probably taking the over on Sam Darnold interceptions on Sunday against the 49ers. But Rob wakes up in the morning and just says, I'm choosing violence. And it's just like, I've never seen anyone get so much credit for being whatever or blah. And I'm just like, man, Rob, he's not here anymore. He can't hurt us anymore, Rob. It's okay. Like, I think we all kind of agree that, like, regardless of the best natural thrower of the football since Steve Young talk, is like, we kind of know who Sam is. And it was against the damn New York Giants, who are awful.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not putting too much stock into what he was able to do against the Giants. We'll see what he looks like against the 49ers defense. Again, the familiarity, having a tough time with that word today. The familiarity
Words are
with
hard.
what? Yeah, words
Words
are
are
hard.
hard. Words are hard.
With this defense, I don't think is going to help him at all. I think the 49ers going to have the advantage there. But we'll see. The 49ers have had some weird games in Minnesota, as we know. So at least it seems like the Vikings won't have Jordan Addison, who did
Right.
kind of cook them
Very good
last
call.
time.
Very good call there. Yeah, very good call there. Jordan Addison, likely going to have to fight to play on Sunday as well too. Obviously Justin Jefferson, is always going to be a
He
problem.
might be just a little bit better than Addison.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Just a little. Yeah.
And Minnesota has upgraded with Aaron Jones, but I think the matchup to watch is Brian Flores with this defense and how much he's going to have the propensity to blitz. We're going to see a different test for the offensive line in this game, and it's not going to be because of talent. What I mean by that is, I think you can make the argument that the Jets probably have a better defensive line, or if not close, but the amount of blitzes and how do you beat that? I think we saw a little bit of that last year when the 49ers lost to, Kirk Cousins without Justin Jefferson, by the way, last year in Minnesota. So weird things have happened. Like, do we have to really go through like all of the losses? Because I'm not an older fan, but I remember, like one of the first things that I can remember that pops into my head when the 49ers go to Minnesota is that stupid play with Brett Favre where he threw the ball to the back of the end zone, like with Greg Lewis. By the way, Brett Favre, give the money back, pal. And then from there, it's the Jimmy Garoppolo game with the throw to Dante Pettis. He throws 3 interceptions. You have the weird George Kittle drop in that game. And then you have last year where, yes, the 49ers were without Trent and Debo, but the Minnesota Vikings didn't have Justin Jefferson, and it was a primetime Kirk Cousins game, and somehow they wind up winning. It's just weird stuff happens in Minnesota all the time.
Yeah, I really can't have that. Skeezy says if we lose against Darnold, so God help us.
Open up the Twitter space
so
and let me hear it. Yeah, and let me hear it, man. I need to hear it.
Yeah, we'll sound like Jets fans for a bit if Darnold beats us, but I hope not. I mean, obviously, yes, they had Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins had a great game. I'm just not seeing that for Sam Darnold in this one, so I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, and again, Hawkinson's not in this game. Obviously, I believe they started Josh Oliver, who caught a touchdown pass as well too. I think if we're going off of week 1, as stingy as the run defense looked against Breece Hall, who I consider to be the second best running back in football behind Christian McCaffrey, if they're able to lock up this defense running the football and make Sam Darnold make throws, I think that's obviously how you win this game.
Yeah, he's not going to have 12 consecutive completions against the Niners. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was a little bit of like check down merchant stuff, but hey, what do I know, right? I did, because someone was like, how could you say he's bad? He's 12 for 13. I was like, well, it's the damn New York Giants, by the way. And, I was like, are you watching the game? Like, it's a lot of these like quick throws, easy throws. He did hit a really, really nice throw to Justin Jefferson down the field, though. So you guys are too young to remember the Favre to Sidney Rice bomb that beat us up there, too. That's the one I was referring to. I'm not too young for that. I literally remember him running around and Manny Lawson's right behind him and he brings him down or whatever and he throws it up and Greg Lewis just scrapes his feet across the bottom. But yeah, whatever. Screw Brett Favre. Give the money back, pal. You can't just be out here tweeting and you can't just be out here walking around like there's nothing wrong. Give the money back. Whatever. But yeah, for some reason, the 49ers haven't had really good luck over there. So it's going to be interesting. And there are weird games in the NFL in terms of like, there's always going to be 1 or 2 games where we're just like, man, I can't explain why the 49ers lost this game, and I'm not saying that's going to be this week, but I still have a hard time being nervous about Sam Darnold, beating the 49ers, especially with the way that this defense performed and with the chance that they can get a little bit better as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm really not worried about it. But yeah, we've seen strange things happen. We've seen strange things happen in week 1, but it wasn't to the Niners. So at least we have that going for us. So going into this week 1 game, it feels like they should get that win. So let's just get it done.
Yeah. And again, essentially the 49ers aren't going to start clicking on all cylinders until about like week 4 or 5. But you know what's funny about this week 1 game? It felt like how we felt about the Steelers game last year, where we're like, man, Mike Tomlin's gonna have those boys ready to play. Yeah, it could be, on the road, good defense, and get their ass whipped.
Like week 1. That's week 1, like because you don't know what to expect. There's weird things that happen. So I was predicting 10-7, and I'm so yeah.
I said 21-14, so like I can't I knew they were gonna win this game, but like I said 21-14, yeah.
I was really tripping because I was thinking it would be like a defensive game, but Just didn't really see the Jets defense all that much show up in this one like we thought. So very happy to be wrong. But yeah, definitely will be predicting more points for the 49ers in week 2.
Yeah, it's just right now it feels great. Everything's moving in the right direction. Obviously, again, for anybody who's late to the show, Kyle Shanahan says that Christian McCaffrey could have played if it was a playoff game and is dealing with Achilles tendonitis, which is a new thing. So that's on there as well. But Juwan Jennings and Aaron Banks have little small injuries. It looks like for the most part, the 49ers got in, got out. And let's not forget, Yitzer Gross Models has a chance to play soon as well, too. So we're talking about Gross Models, Hufanga, McCaffrey, Aiyuk getting up to speed, Dre Greenlaw eventually. The reinforcements are coming for this team, and they still haven't even played their best football yet. And it's right around the corner at this point. Again, it's hard not to be excited.
Yeah, I mean, almost full squad, pretty much, in still dominating teams. So once the 49ers do get healthy, they're gonna be dangerous. They're already dangerous, Jay. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what this team looks like, and looking forward to seeing what the depth pieces look like. Because with some of those guys out, like I think we're seeing that some of these depth guys are pretty exciting because they look pretty good as well. So I'm excited to continue to see some of those guys get those opportunities. Continue to see guys like Purdy develop, grow. So yeah, definitely a lot to look forward to.
100%. And I think that's a great place to end it. Guys, thank you so much for joining the show. Make sure you like and subscribe to the Gold Standard Podcast YouTube network and wherever you get your audio podcasts. Make sure you follow Steph on Twitter at Steph49K. Follow me on Twitter at Jason Aponte2103. We both have YouTube channels too. Maybe you want to give us a subscribe over there as well too. But man, vibes are immaculate. We're so back. 21-0, never a doubt. For Steph, for Jay, we're out of here. Enjoy Victory Tuesday.